games. This season is our season. Catch all the footballing action from the leagues in the world live on Sports Hub.
Absolutely glorious from Arsenal Palace.
Mondays and Wednesdays, 7:30 p.m. and on Saturdays at 2 p.m. on High Impact 102.1 FM. The storylines, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat, the inside info, and all the action on and off the field. Catch up with all your favorite sporting action live on Sports Hub every Mondays and Wednesdays, 7:30 p.m. and on Saturdays at 2 p.m. right here on High Impact 102.1 FM. Fasten your seatbelt for the most exciting 30 minutes journey into the world of sports starting now.
Welcome wherever you are
on Sports Hub.
It is the most exciting and wonderful time of the year as we speak right now. Today, the 25th day in the month of December, year 2023. I'm saying to you, all sports fans out there, wishing you a Merry Christmas and then a prosperous New Year ahead. Welcome to the Sports Hub Show right here on Empire Radio 102.1 FM. This is where we get to keep you up to speed with the latest happenings in the ever dynamic, ever exciting, and sometimes controversial world of sports, preaching the gospel of sport to you for the next 30 minutes, taking you through the nitty-gritty of all these happenings across this world of ours. Talking about sports, of course, it is always ever bubbling. Something to talk about, something to look into on the show tonight. Ayodeji Ajiboye is my name, and such an honor to have you on the other side. Join us on the show this evening. Just so you know, we're live on Facebook at Empower Radio 102.1 FM. You can also join us on YouTube at Impact 102.1 FM. Without further ado, let's go straight into it. But before then, let me give you tips on the headlines of what we'll be taking a look at in the course of the show this evening. And yes, congratulations to Manchester United faithfuls, to Manchester United fans, because yes, over the weekend, Sir Jim Ratcliffe has finally agreed alongside his company, the Ineos Group, to buy 25% of Manchester United stake. That was agreed over the weekend, and also a couple of matches actually went down during the weekend. Talk about the game between Wolverhampton Wanderers and Chelsea FC, and then I'm asking the question right now: what exactly is wrong with Chelsea? Not just Chelsea, by the way, also Manchester United. Just before the announcement of Sir Jim Ratcliffe taking that 25% stake of the club, they lost 2-0 to Southampton, and they are not Southampton, West Ham United right now. And then this is more like the least position they've ever the least points they've ever been able to accrue, and at this time of the season for a long time, in a very long time. Which team is worse right now, Manchester United or Chelsea? Arsenal once again doing the same thing they did at this time of the year last year in the English Premier League 2022 season. They were sitting on top of the Premier League, but then we are hoping that they are not going to bottle it just the way they did last season. Away from that, talking about the boxing world during the weekend, so many things happened with the likes of Anthony Joshua actually winning the third bout of the year. He did that in an interesting fashion. Yes, definitely he won that one convincingly, up there against Otto Wallin. He did it when no one really believed the name. Talking about the day of reckoning right there in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. He knocked out Wallin, but Deontay Wilder got defeated. And then it means maybe or maybe not, we might just not be seeing the fight between Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua anytime soon. Talking about the heavyweight champion, Deontay Wilder. Of course, yes, he met with another heavyweight champion. He was a former WBC title holder, but then he cannot do it against Joseph Parker. More to talk about, talking about transfer updates as you have them on the back pages of the major dailies this evening. Talk about transfer update of Nigerian players. Victor Osimhen over the weekend he signed a new contract with Napoli, and then not a good one for him because the game against Roma, he got a red card in that particular encounter where Napoli actually lost to Roma 2-0. That one ended against the boys of the special ward right there in the Italian Serie A. And also away from that, we can also talk about Nigerian players playing their trades abroad because definitely they are doing good for themselves. And then we are gearing up for AFCON 2023. It's just 19 days away from now, and then we are hearing that the Super Eagles of Nigeria will be playing against Burkina Faso and Cape Verde in January 2024. So much to talk about on the show, so much to look into. Welcome to Sports Hub right here on 9 Power Radio 102.1 FM. Stay with me, I'll be right back, and then most definitely I am still here.
This is Sports Hub on High Impact 102.1 FM. For the best in sport entertainment, tune in to Sports Hub on High Impact 102.1 FM.
Welcome back to the Sports Hub Show right here on 9 Power Radio 102.1 FM. Let's start from the home front this evening, and let's start with table tennis. Our world tennis sensation Matthew Kuti has claimed 2 national titles within 24 hours, where he won the maiden Daniel Ford Youth Championship as well as a one-day renewed hope Top 20 Invitational Challenge held at the Molade Okoya Thomas Hall of the Teslim Balogun Stadium. Kuti, a former African cadet champion, showed class at the first Daniel Ford tournament by coming from 2-0 down in the under-19 boys final to beat Aldo Basit Abdul Fatai of Kwara 4-2 to the admiration of special guest Onwako Kanu, who was in attendance, and less than 24 hours after claiming that the Lagos State-born national junior champion tested his might against one of the senior players in the country as the second renewed hope challenge, and to the surprise of everyone in attendance, he repeated his victory just the way he did it over Abdul Fattah in the semi-final of the men's singles, and went on to beat Wale Fagbamila of Ondo State in the final to become the best male player in the country. He won the final 3-1, 11-4, 13-11, 6-11, and 11-9. And then Nelite Kuti described this win as what he needed after missing the 2023 World Youth Championship held right there in Slovenia. Still taking story from the home front this evening. The Nigerian American Football Association (NAFA), in conjunction with Grigon Foundation, has finalized plans to sponsor 36 players to the United States high schools, universities, and colleges as part of efforts to develop sport in the country. NAFA said the selected boys from age 14 to 20 were identified through a national screening program held at the University of Lagos Sports Complex early this month. And then, speaking on the scholarship, NAFA President Babajide Akeredolu described Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu for supporting the Federation's awareness drive for American football and also encouraging more youth to partake in the sport. Akeredolu also said plans are on to include girls in the exercise in the coming days. Away from that, let's talk about basketball this evening. And yes, so much to talk about the Nigerian Basketball Federation. And now they have said that its preparation for the forthcoming Paris 2024 Olympic Games qualifiers is being stalled by delay in getting necessary funds from the Ministry of Sport. Nigeria is drawn against world champions United States, Senegal, and host Belgium in the qualifying campaign built for Antwerp, Belgium, in February next year. But preparations for that championship has not taken off with less than 6 weeks to go because the NBBF doesn't have the money for it just yet. And then the member of the NBBF Media Committee, Maxwell Kumuyi, said the Ministry of Sports, which is in charge of the Olympic Games qualifier, will decide when the Tigress will start campaign for the championship as well as training program for them. He also said that the NBBF would only work with the fronts approved by the Sports Ministry for the qualifiers, which will run from February 8 to 11 2024 in 4 different cities of Antwerp in Belgium, China, Sopron in Hungary, and Belém in Brazil. China, France, New Zealand, and a team from the Americas will fight for the qualifying ticket in Group 1 of the series, while Nigeria, United States, Senegal, and Belgium are in Group 2. France have already qualified for the Olympics by virtue of the game set to hold right there in Paris. Talking about football on the continent of Africa right now, where CAF are set to announce qualifiers kick-off date for 2025 African Cup of Nations. Don't forget I mentioned it to you. That is just 19 days to AFCON 2023, which will be holding right there in Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. But right about now, the Confederation of African Football has made a decisive move by revealing the kick-off date for the qualifiers of 2025 African Cup of Nations. Just so you know, I just mentioned there, AFCON 2023 will be taking off January 13, just 19 days from now. I beg your pardon. And now the key dates for the 2025 edition, the qualifiers are out already, and then the schedule is that the preliminary round is set to take place from March 18 to March 16, 2024. So just after we play in the AFCON 2023, we start with the qualifiers for the 2025 edition of AFCON, and then other phases will start to play by September of next year, 2024, where the first round will be played between September 2 to September 10, and the third to the fourth round of games will take place from September 7 to September 15. And the host nation definitely will be Morocco for the 2025 AFCON, after Guinea was stripped of its hosting rights following a review by the Confederations of African Football. So you know it's from one competition to another tournament for African players right now. Immediate focus on the 2025 AFCON. That is what it is right now on the African continent. At Spikes of Nigeria, we played 2 friendly matches against Burkina Faso and also Cape Verde in January ahead of the 2023 African Cup of Nations, which will hold from January 13 to February 11 right there in Ivory Coast. The Super Eagles will be hoping to win a 4th AFCON title next year, and they are in Group A alongside host country Ivory Coast, Equatorial Guinea, and Guinea-Bissau. The first game will be against Equatorial Guinea January 14 at the Ebimpe Olympic Stadium before facing host Ivory Coast January 18, while the last group game will be against Guinea-Bissau on January 22. Last week, the Nigerian Football Federation submitted the provisional 41-man list to the Confederation of African Football, with the 27-man squad expected to be released January 3. Although that did not come without a lot of divisions amongst fans, amongst journalists, and also teaming fans of football in Nigeria. And then following the decision of the Organization Committee of AFCON, all 24 teams will be permitted a final squad of 27 players, 4 more than the initial 23 from other previous tournaments. And then the Eagles are built to camp in Saudi Arabia ahead of the tournament from Friday, December 29. So yes, as Spikes of Nigeria, we definitely have 2 games in hand right now, talking about the games between Burkina Faso and also Cape Verde to be played right there in January. Away from football on the home front, let's talk about boxing right now. Before we go back to football, of course, there's so much to talk about, so much to look into. We still got stories from the world of basketball and also athletics this evening. Over the weekend, Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, definitely they both headlined the day of reckoning card in the early hours of Sunday morning. That's talking about Nigerian time, because it was the fight was on Saturday evening right there in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and the former 2-time world heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua faced off against Otto Wallin in Saudi Arabia. And yes, Anthony Joshua made some kind of statement. You can call it a huge statement from Anthony Joshua, where he actually broke down his opponent Otto Wallin for a spectacular 5th round stoppage, cruising to a remarkable win against the tricky opponent. Joshua was set to be back in his aggressive best in the opening 2 rounds, stepping in with his right hand, and then he was more focused and powerful and lived up to the expectation of his new trainer, who is in person of Ben Davison, and then his counters and he overpowered the Swede with his right hand and the left hook combination. Such a powerful move from Anthony Joshua in that particular bout. I mean, you can say that this is the best Anthony Joshua has looked for a very long time. And then with a minute to go in the fifth, Wallin was hit by a combination from Joshua, and then he staggered across the ring. The British Nigerian patiently picked apart the busted face and the body of the Swede, and that's just how he actually won that particular one. Away from that, another fight that actually made the headline, as I mentioned, was the one between 38-year-old Deontay Wilder, who looked almost like his age, and then not his usual menace, because you can call Deontay Wilder a menace when it comes to boxing. But then Joseph Parker implemented some kind of cool and calculated game plan for Deontay Wilder, and then he was able to shut out the dangerous American puncher. Wilder timings was said to be poor, and Parker, ducking under his dangerous right all night long, was able to perform beyond expectation, and then he was able to knock out Deontay Wilder in that particular one. This came in the 9th round, and then you can always tell that Deontay Wilder likes to leave it late, but then this one never happened. It never recovered, and then he was not able to push hard, because Parker won by a landslide, 118, 111, and then 118, 110, and then 120 to 108 on the judges' card. Another fight on the card on Saturday night was a fight between Daniel Dubois and Frank Miller, Jarrell Miller, I beg your pardon. And then this was some kind of huge and dramatic 10th round stoppage victory for Daniel Dubois against a very formidable Jarrell Miller, a heavyweight boxing at its best. The defeat to Alexander Usyk and Joe Joyce are now consigned to pass, as Dubois showed great heart and went to the wall and still had plenty in reserve after. Though Dubois stopping Miller is a major statement for the Brits, as there was no lack of desire and then in the art in aim at that particular Saturday night. He proved that he had opened the gateway to be in huge fights once again. So it's left to be seen now who will be matching up next in the world of the heavyweight boxing. What do you think Anthony Joshua will be coming up against next? Right now, Deontay Wilder is out of the cards. He's out of the books right now. Nobody's talking about Deontay Wilder again as we speak. But then, what do you think Anthony Joshua will be squaring up against next when it comes to the boxing ring? What do you think he will be squaring up against next? This is one that everyone is actually calling out for right now. Yes, most definitely. Do you think? Let me ask you. Do you think he can do it? Former cruiserweight champion Anthony Joshua up against, should I whisper it to your ears, Francis Ngannou? I think that is more like punching above his weight here. But yes, anything can happen here. Yes, Anthony Joshua up against Francis Ngannou. Do you see that happening anytime soon? Or maybe on the fight card with the same person in person of Joseph Parker. Don't forget that he's actually had a fight with Joseph Parker before now, and then we knew how that particular fight actually ended. So maybe or maybe not, you might not want to go deep into it. But anyway, from that, let's go straight into the world of football. Ever dynamic and also the king of all sports football this evening. I want to ask you this question: are you a Chelsea fan out there, or are you a Manchester United fan? I want to ask you right now, which team is worse? Chelsea manager Mauricio Pochettino says they have to blame themselves after their 2-1 loss to Wolverhampton Wanderers on Sunday. Don't forget that the goals from Mario Lemina and Matt Doherty actually did that for Chelsea. For Wolverhampton Wanderers, why are the first goal for Christopher Nkoko? Yes, he put one goal back for Chelsea in that particular encounter. Which team do you think is worse right now, Chelsea or Manchester United? Manchester United, on the other hand, they are breaking records, but not the good records, the bad records as we speak. Because yes, unfortunately, they lost 2-0 in the hand of West Ham United. Jared Bowen and Mohamed Kudus are getting the goals for them. Which team do you think is worse right now? Of course, most definitely something has to be done. And yes, talking about Manchester United, during the course of the weekend, as I mentioned to you at the start of the show, Sir Jim Ratcliffe has finally been able to agree a deal to buy 25% stake of the club, Manchester United. And then just after getting that one, he has now appointed 2 new director of footballs in person of Jean-Claude Blanc, and yes, and also Sir David Broswood. And then these 2 people will be at the ends of affairs of football operation at Manchester United. Do you see this as a turnaround for Manchester United? Do you see this as something that will actually spring good fortunes for Manchester United? Where are the Red Devils at? Let's talk about it on the show together tonight. 0700 1021 1021 0700 1021 1021. And yes, before I continue with football, let me quickly call on basketball fans tonight. And yes, the 76th edition of the NBA Christmas Day Games. 76th edition of the NBA Christmas Day Games. Some games will be going down early tonight. Yes, let's talk about 2 a.m. Nigerian time. But then that's going to be on Tuesday morning, where the Milwaukee Bucks will be up against the New York Knicks, and then the Golden State Warriors will be up against the Denver Nuggets. The Boston Celtics will be up against the Los Angeles Lakers. The Philadelphia 76ers up against the Miami Heat, and the Maverick will be up against the Phoenix Suns. All of these games are the games that we can call the Christmas Day games, right here in the world of basketball. A tradition in the NBA, and it continues like that, and then it's not going to stop there, because there's a couple of fixtures right there in the world of football as well. And yes, one game that seems to have actually redefined how our season is looking right now is the game between Arsenal and Chelsea. And yes, Arsenal, you can always say that they had the better of a breathless 1-1 draw against Liverpool on Saturday afternoon. Yes, that game, should I say Saturday evening, because it was late in the evening here. And yes, Mikel Arteta's team, yes, you can call them last season runner-up, and they've won 5 of their last 7 matches, but have now not tasted victory in the league match at Anfield since 2012. But then that magical 1-1 draw, that is just the stuff of a champion. That is how champions play their football. If you actually saw that game, you understand better what I'm talking about. This is not like an end-to-end game. This is not a respectable draw. They did not respect each other. They went all out for it. I mean, it's more of, the winner takes it all in this particular encounter. And then you need to give it up for a certain William Saliba for standing his ground in that particular encounter. William Saliba is wherever he says he is. 1-1 that one ended between Arsenal and Liverpool, and now this has actually made our season to look like a good run for Arsenal right now, because they presently sit at top of the English Premier League. After 18 games played, they have 40 points, while Liverpool are second on the log with 39 points. Somewhat not too different from what we had this time last season. Yes, at this time of the season last season, yes, Arsenal were actually still sitting on top of the English Premier League this time last season, but then they didn't have up to what they have right now, because last season they had 37 points after 14 games played. Don't forget that last season was some kind of should I say unusual season for everyone. Yes, more like a bridge season, more like an unusual season, because yes, the World Cup was hosted, and then a long break between July, so yes, June and July to be precise. So yes, but then right now, Do you see Arsenal not bottling the league again this time around? Do you think Arsenal can go all the way and actually cement their place? It's just halfway through right now, and then 18 more games to be played before the end of the English Premier League season. Yes, we are halfway through the season as we speak. So hopefully Arsenal will be able to hold on to it, and then they get to win the league for themselves this time around. Let's just hope. Let's continue to hope for Arsenal. Let me quickly let you in on games that will be played on the Boxing Day right there in the English Premier League tomorrow, the 26th day of December, year 2023. Newcastle United will be hosting Nottingham Forest right there at the St. James Park. Not a good season for Nottingham Forest, but then looks like they like that position where they are in right now. No shades, honestly, but then it's not really different from what they actually had last season as well. Of course, this time last season they were sitting 18th on the log with 13 points, and then this season sitting the same place with 14 points, though they had minus 19 last season, and this season they're having minus 14. Looks like a side that is meant to struggle in the English Premier League, and no shit once again. FC Bournemouth will be hosting Fulham, while Sheffield United will be hosting Luton Town. Luton Town, a great win for them over the weekend as well, because yes, nobody really gave them the chance. Nobody saw them doing what they did over the weekend, and also Sheffield United was almost going to take points of Aston Villa, but then Zaniolo had to leave it late in that particular encounter to get a 1-1 draw between Sheffield United and Aston Villa. So hopefully they will go end to end right there against Luton Town. Yes, Luton Town, I mentioned to you, they kept their first clean sheet against Newcastle United on Saturday. Nobody saw it coming against the almighty Newcastle United. Luton Town, well, a good one for them, and also for their captain, who is presently out of coma, and then that one definitely will be dedicated to their captain, Tom Lockyer, who suffered that arrest right there in the game between AFC Bournemouth. We're still waiting to see when the game will be played, and then this will be Sheffield United's 100th Premier League game on a Boxing Day, and then the Sheffield United have not lost 4 of their past 6 fixtures on 26th of December. They've only drawn 2 of such encounters. Away from that, Burnley will be hosting Liverpool, while Manchester United will be hosting Aston Villa right there at Old Trafford. The theater of dreams are more like the theater of nightmares right now. Let's see, and hopefully they get to put a smile on the face of the Manchester United faithfuls. In the Scottish Premier League, Dundee United will be hosting Celtic, while a couple of games will be going on the way in the English Championship as well, more like the League One and also the League Two, straight down the tires of league in the English football. Away from that, a couple of games right there in the Belgian First Division, where Royal Antwerp will be traveling to KRC Genk. KV Cottage will be hosting KAA Gent, while Club Brugge definitely will be hosting Union Saint-Gilloise. Saudi Professional League, Al Ittihad will be hosting Al Nassr. It is Sport Talk Show right here on Empire Radio 102.1 FM. I mentioned it to you already that yes, a couple of games will be going down right there in the world of basketball, talking about the 76th edition of the NBA Boxing Day matches. Currently on the way is the game between the Milwaukee Bucks and the New York Knicks. It's the end of the third quarter right now, and then the New York Knicks are way ahead of the Milwaukee Bucks, but anything can still happen before the end of the game. 98-87 as we speak, and now they are into the fourth quarter of that particular game. Let's see what's going to happen before the end of the day. But then the Knicks have always had, let's say, not too good run against the Milwaukee Bucks, by the way, because yes, the last time the Knicks actually defeated the Bucks was sometimes last year, and then ever since that time the Bucks have always been coming on top of them. Talk about the game 2 and game 3 of the 2023 season, most definitely. So let's see what's going to happen at the end of this particular one. But as it stands right now, Milwaukee Bucks are 90 points, New York Knicks 98 points, and yes, they are playing from home. I mentioned to you that Victor Osimhen actually saw a red card in their defeat to AS Roma over the weekend. Yes, African player Victor Osimhen saw a red card after he got sent off during Napoli's Serie A defeat on Saturday, December 23. And that was a dramatic Serie A clash here, a game of champions. And then AS Roma came on top of that one. 2-0 it ended at the Stadio Olimpico, and then they capitalized on their opponents' 2 red cards that went right there to Napoli in that particular encounter. Some kind of hopeless game for Napoli after suffering from 2 man down. It was Politano who first got the red card in that particular game, and then everything changed from there. Not until Victor Osimhen also got red carded after signing that new deal that is going to make his release clause around £130 million. £130 million. I'm Parody 102.1 FM, Sports Up Show right here. 7 you taking you through the nitty-gritty of all the major stories making it through in the ever exciting, ever dynamic and also controversial world of sport. Ayodeji Ajiboye is my name, and it's such an honor to have you on the other side tonight. Do well to join us as the Sports Up Show will be returning on Wednesday 7:30 to 8 p.m. and also on Saturday 2 to 3 p.m. where we get to give you 1 hour of banter, 1 hour of rage, 1 hour of views, reviews and interviews. We serve you the sports in a jiffy every weekday 10 a.m. On the dot, right here on the Morning Impact Show, taking you through the bits and pieces, your early morning coffee when it comes to sport. I'll be signing out tonight. Stay with us as the drop down continues right here on Empire Radio 102.1 FM. Ayodeji Ajiboye is my name, and I will tell you, do have yourself a Merry Christmas. Enjoy yourself, and I say sayonara.
Picture this: you, your family, and friends cruising glassful and having the time of your lives this Christmas. That's right, this Christmas at High Impact Cruise, we are turning up the fun factor to 11. Join us on December 10th at our Fresco Cruise. Treat yourselves to an extraordinary night of